So where did we get to as far as the balcony was concerned? Well, whatever you read last week, really up until that very last scene, until they decide sort of who's going to be, in charge of the place. What we saw is that the idea of power is complex. That for the men involved in the balcony, specifically the men involved in the balcony, playing scenarios, playing roles such as the bishop, the judge, and the general. Power is exciting when it is a theory, when it is something to be played with, when it is something to sort of put on like you'd put on, as they do, right? Costumes, and engage in these scenarios where you get to be, powerful for a little bit with, and exert power over somebody. It is clearly a metaphor for sexual power. Absolutely it is. It's taken place in a brothel. These men are clearly interested in, having a sexual fantasy that also involves power. It's a role-playing scenario, and they want it to be both real and fake, right? They want it to be real enough that they feel as if they can exert this power and have this power, and it feels real that, the bishop, gets to, forgive sins, although he is mildly concerned when, some of the sins that are described may have actually been committed, because they would be real problems and they would be real sins, and that sort of gets at the mess of everything, right? The judge, of course, wants to be able to pardon crimes, right? But he's very concerned. What if these crimes actually were committed? As a judge, somebody would have been actually, hurt by this, right? And so power is fun when it is a theory. When it becomes a real thing, it becomes less fun. And this is exactly what we see at the end of the balcony. Chantal, who I know we've spent very little time talking about, right, as a symbol of the revolution, has some real power as a symbol of what the revolution stands for, is able to be a rallying cry for the rebellion. And she pays for it with her life. When the symbol is struck down, it's not just the symbol that disappears. Chantal herself is killed, right? We see Arthur, for example, the person who plays the executioner when it comes to the scenario with the judge. He himself ends up being killed by perhaps a stray bullet, perhaps a real bullet. We're not really sure. But there is real cost to power. There's real cost to the revolution. And when the judge, the bishop, the general, actually take these roles, when Irma takes the role as symbolically the queen, there is a real shift in the way people feel about their roles, right? The role of the bishop, the judge, the general is complex, because suddenly this is real power. Suddenly these are people with real roles and real responsibilities, and the power's not as much fun, right? And the funny thing is that, according to the envoy, according to everybody who is sort of running this shadow government, including the people who are part of it, it works, right? The people believe in it. The people believe that these people are actually in charge. They believe that the queen is in charge. This is a paradox, right? That the people who are in charge now don't really want to be in charge. Irma doesn't really want to be the queen. The people who are the judge, general, bishop don't really love these roles because they're difficult, they're hard. It's hard to actually do these things, and yet they become very quickly accustomed to the idea that they are in charge of real things, right? And their play acting has set them up to be at least successful looking. And Genet brings up the question, and it's one that we will continue to work through. Does the symbol suffice? Whoever's behind the symbol, does it matter who they are as long as they look correct? And is this actually a bit of a dangerous scenario for whoever's playing these people, right? The Queen didn't matter at all when the Queen died in the palace explosion, because Irma's there to look like one. And it sort of also points to the fact that do people in this particular revolution really pay that much attention to who is in charge, other than the symbols of power, the bishop's clothing, the general's outfit, the judge's robes, the queen's jewelry and official appearance? As long as they see somebody wearing these outfits and portraying the symbols, they're perfectly content to say, this is who we're fighting against, this is who we respect, this is who we don't respect. And it becomes kind of a problem when we think about the fact that, if Irma gets shot, if the judge gets shot, it would be easy to simply pop somebody else in that place. Is there anything real behind the power? That's what we're going to talk about in the next scenario, and we're going to talk about it in specifically in regards to what happens when George, the chief of police, and Roger, the revolutionary, sort of end up meeting in a way in the last scenario, the one that George has been hoping for. He finally gets to be portrayed in the balcony. He finally has arrived. People have turned him into a symbol that is important enough to want to role play. And so what does this mean for all the characters involved? We'll get to that in the next video.